I drove 9 hours through one of the worst snowstorms I've ever seen, just to surprise my wife on her birthday. The whole way there, I kept imagining the look on her face when she saw me, eyes lighting up with joy. A shocked smile spreading across her face as she realized I had traveled hundreds of miles just to be with her. I pictured setting down her favorite cake, pulling her into a warm hug, and feeling that unmistakable spark of love between us. But that's not what happened. Not even close. By the time I arrived at her sister's house, I was exhausted. My legs were shaky from the cold, and my arms were still wrapped tightly around the box of cake I'd held onto like a fragile treasure. Then I heard it, her voice, coming from the kitchen, laughing. "Oh my God, I hope he crashes on the way here," Abigail said. "At least I'd get the insurance money." My breath caught in my throat. "Or a few months of peace and quiet," her sister Mia chimed in. And they both burst into laughter, like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. I froze, right there in the hallway. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the cake. Every warm memory I had of her just evaporated. I walked into the kitchen, not a word. I set the cake on the table in front of them. Their faces went pale. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why. I just turned around and walked out, leaving Abigail screaming my name behind me. That moment changed everything. I didn't go back home after that. I crashed on the couch at my best friend Theodore's tiny apartment. Somewhere quiet, somewhere safe, where I could process what the hell had just happened. My phone lit up nonstop with calls and messages from Abigail. Dozens, hundreds. I didn't open a single one, because I knew what I heard. And there was no coming back from it. In the days that followed, I started uncovering more, worse things. She had been draining money from our joint account, spending recklessly on luxury items. She even opened credit cards in my name without me knowing. That's when I realized, maybe the woman I thought I loved, the woman I once would have done anything for, had never actually existed. Days apart turned into weeks. I returned to the house only when she was gone, quietly, systematically. I packed my things piece by piece. I left the shared photos on the walls like a haunting reminder of everything she threw away, all for the sake of a cruel, drunken joke. But the story didn't end there. Abigail started begging. She claimed it was just a joke, that she was drunk, that she didn't mean it. But when I played her the recording, the one where she and Mia laughed like I was already dead, she had no excuses left. She cried. She begged again, called, texted, apologized over and over. But apologies can't erase the sound of someone laughing at the thought of your funeral, and no amount of regret will ever bring back the man I was before I heard it. Weeks passed, and somewhere in that silence, Abigail started to change. She began cutting back on her spending. She sold off some of the luxury items, even started a women's support group to talk about healing from marital mistakes. Then she sent me a long letter. In it, she owned up to everything, every lie, every betrayal. She didn't ask me to come back. She just asked for a chance to prove she could be better. But the question still haunts me. Is any of that enough? Because no matter what she says or how much she tries, I can still hear her voice in my head. I hope he crashes on the way here. Now I'm standing at a crossroads. One path leads to forgiveness, to salvaging a 7-year marriage that once felt like the best thing in my life. The other leads to divorce. A clean break from a woman who once wished me dead for an insurance payout. No matter what happens, though, I've learned something important. Sometimes a single sentence, spoken in carelessness or cruelty, can shatter everything. And everything we've built over years can vanish in the space of a breath. But maybe some journeys, no matter how painful, are necessary just to remind us of our own worth. It's been 3 months since I walked out of Abigail's life, and even now, I still wrestle with the conflict inside me. Every morning in this small apartment, I wonder, will it ever feel okay again? Then, one sunny afternoon in June, I was curled up on the couch, finally trying to finish a book I'd started ages ago, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Abigail. "Noah, I don't mean to bother you, But my mom passed away this morning. I don't know who else to call. I sat up straight. A flood of emotions hit me all at once. My heart pounded, just like it did the first time I saw her, back when we were 17 at a post-game party after a high school basketball game. Part of me wanted to stay away to protect whatever healing I had left. But another part of me, the part that remembered the woman I once loved, could only see someone broken, someone who needed someone. After a few moments, I texted back, "I'm sorry, Abigail. Where are you?" "At home," she wrote. "But I'm not doing well. I just need to talk. Just for a little while." So I drove, back to the house we used to share. The streets hadn't changed. The garden out front still looked the same. But inside me, everything was different. I stood at the front door for a long time before finally ringing the bell. She opened the door, her eyes red, face pale and tired. And in that moment, despite all the hurt, I realized I had never truly stopped loving her. We sat in the living room. That space held so many memories, some beautiful, some unbearable. She cried as she talked about her mother, about the loneliness she'd been living with, and I just listened. No judgments, no fixing, just there. Then she looked up, eyes filled with tears, and whispered, "Do you remember the first time we met?" I nodded, and for the first time in months, I smiled. "How could I forget?" I said with a soft smile. "You spilled an entire glass of juice all over my shirt." She laughed, that familiar laugh I once loved so deeply. "I've made so many mistakes, Noah," she whispered. "But if I could go back, I'd do everything differently. I'd hold on to you tighter. I'd shut out all the lies I let into my head." I looked at Abigail, and I could feel the sincerity in every word. But the truth was, the hurt was still there. And pain doesn't vanish just because someone finally says they're sorry. "Abigail," I said gently, "forgiveness is one thing, but trust is something else entirely. I've thought a lot about that." She lowered her eyes, silent. "But," I continued, "there's one thing I can't deny. I never stopped caring about you." She looked up at me then, her eyes filled with hope and fear. "Do you think there's still a chance for us?" she asked quietly. I took a long, deep breath. "I don't know, but maybe we could try. Slowly, one step at a time. I'm not making promises, Abigail, but I'm willing to give us one more chance, one last chance." Tears welled up in her eyes again, not from guilt this time, but from relief. So we started over, from the ground up. No rushing, no pressure, just two people trying to rebuild something real. We went to marriage counseling. We learned how to talk honestly, really talk, about fear, about anger, about love. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, something shifted. Abigail changed, not just in words, but in how she lived. Gone were the meaningless luxuries. The toxic calls with Mia stopped completely. She simplified her life. She became more grounded, more present. One evening, while we were walking through the park near our home, Abigail stopped, took my hand, and whispered, "Noah, thank you for not giving up on me." I looked at her, bathed in the soft orange glow of the sunset, and felt the pieces of my heart slowly stitching themselves back together. I smiled. "Thank you for helping me realize that sometimes breaking is exactly what we need in order to grow." And in that moment, for the first time in a long time, I knew we had found our way back to each other. Not to who we used to be, but to something new, wiser, stronger, and more grateful than ever for the second chance we'd been given. Because sometimes real love isn't the kind that's never broken. It's the kind that chooses to heal no matter how many times it's been torn apart.